So they sent me a diesel heater. Pretty cool. So we're going to put this together real quick and set it up in the garage. Just give it a little test run. At first I didn't think exactly how I could use this heater. But the more I look at it, the more I look into it, the more I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. It comes with a little remote, so if you need to turn it off and on from across the room, full digital panel. It has legs that go underneath it to prop it up, get it up off the ground. This is your air intake if you need to fresh air intake. This is your exhaust. Got a tube that goes underneath it. This is for your vent. It goes on there, goes on here, and then you can move it. So if it's out, if you have this sitting outside, you can vent it into a space, you know, like going camping or something like that. If you want to sit this outside and then vent it in, you can do that. Or you can do directional, however you want to do it. So also has an air intake. You can filterize your air going into it. So if you are outside and you don't want this thing sucking in a bug or something like that, that's a really good idea there. On my setup, what I'm going to do is have this in the shop, sitting on the workbench, venting out the window and blowing in hot air. So it also comes with all of your connections. You'll need the little clamps for hooking up all your hoses. Comes with different ways of hooking this up to your power source. You can do low volt, or you can do like DC or AC connection. That's pretty cool. I like that. So we'll be plugging it into an outlet, so it's not a big deal. But you can also run it off of your car battery or something like that if you need to. That's pretty cool. They give you all the wire connections that you need. I think that's pretty cool, man. So anyways, let's put some legs on it real quick. I tried to put the exhaust vent on, and using the worm clamps, and the worm clamps are so cheap that it screwed itself in. Let me see if I can get that on camera. It actually screwed itself into this metal, so this clamp's no good. None of these clamps are any good. They're the cheap ones that if you have to match the metal to get it to connect, right? So you have to have enough biting force that this will clamp down on that to keep it from coming off, because you don't want this thing coming off. That's the exhaust. So I've got to go to the hardware store and buy new clamps because these are junk. So anyways, that's just my first pick at it. Let's go get some new worm drives. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, see that? It won't even tighten up. This one's the bad one. This here is the one that actually screwed in on itself. See that? It just screwed in on it, so you can't tighten it up. I beat it on, man. Beat it on. You know what I mean? So it's just spreading the head out and not tightening up at all. So that's my pick at it. Let's go get some worm drive. I'm going to pick it up a couple clamps. Let's see if we can clamp that on a little bit better. Much better. Let's go ahead and finish hooking up this exhaust and the power. This is a power setup for it. We got to put some diesel fuel in it. Turn it around. Here's the port for the power inverter. It's just a straight plug now. So let's turn around and finish putting the exhaust pipe on. Quality clamp. Just joking, man. Okay, so The little feet keep it up off the ground. And plug the power port in the back. I think I'm gonna go ahead and add the fuel to it real quick. It's got a little diesel fuel in there. We'll plug her in and see how good it works. I got the display on. I got the power on. Let's see, it's trying to light itself. I ain't got nothing yet. So we'll let it run here for a little bit and see how she works. It's an automatic startup, so I'll turn it up on 7 and let it run here for a little bit. Cool. I think it's trying to start. It's making a clicking noise. So let's give it a little bit. I'm not getting anything out of the pipe. It's ramping up here. You can see it just barely puffing out a little bit of smoke. It will do that on startup. I don't know if you can see that or not. But it first time go around, it's definitely got to put out some smoke. There it is. Now she's burning with fire. So let it run here for a couple minutes and go from there. It's definitely cranking out some heat now. That ticking noise, that tap, 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 that's gone away, almost all the way. Man, that's putting out some heat. Now, the first time you run this, it's going to burn off a little bit off of the exhaust pipe. So you will get a little bit of heat off of that. It's smoking, you probably can't see it, but this pipe is barely smoking. Oh, that's warm. Yeah, it's definitely putting out some, man, that's putting out a lot of heat, bro. A lot of heat. We'll have to get the thermal gun out and see just how much heat that's putting out and go from there. Cool. We let it run here for a little bit. So I've had it running now for about 5 minutes or so. The stank off of that's pretty well burned off. I'm just going to let it run for a little while longer. I cranked it up on high. That ticking noise, it was a very slight tick. It's gone away. Man, that thing is rolling out the heat. Rolling. Anyways, I like how it's got a little remote. Looks like it holds about 5 liters of gas, which is diesel fuel. That's for the motor, that's the air pushing through. Ooh, man, that is a lot of hot air coming out of there. So best application for something like this is definitely if you're going to go camping, you got like a little bitty battery generator. Okay, so if you got a little small battery generator, you can run this thing no problem for hours, like a day, no big deal at all. For me, this will be great in my garage. It'll put out enough heat to keep a certain area warm. It won't heat my whole garage because I don't have insulation in it. But something like this is definitely, if you're camping, or if you got a cargo trailer that you use when you go off-road and stuff like that, that right there is perfect for keeping a small space warm, or even in emergencies. Your power goes out, you need some way to heat your home real quick. You ain't gonna heat the whole house, but you can heat an area. You have to run this out the window, put a little fire guard on there, the whole 9 yards. But anyways, this is definitely pretty cool. I like that a lot. In my garage, it'd be cool because I can run an exhaust pipe out the window. I can put a little heat shield around it, stick it through the screen or around the screen or so. You know what I mean. So, of course, a lot of you guys will be like, well, I just put a propane heater or I'll put some kind of big heater in my garage. Here's the difference between the diesel heater and running propane. Propane puts out a lot of moisture in the air. So then you get a lot of wetness in your garage. You know what I mean? I got big propane heater. I got two. I got a big tube heater, and I also got a little buddy heater. Perfect for garage or spaces such as this. But this will run a dry heat. You know what I'm saying? So if you ever went camping or something like that, you got a little buddy heater to put in it, man, it gets real moist, you know, especially in a camper, you know. But this is a dry heat. That's the big difference. Dry heat is always better when you're into camping, you're in an RV, or you're in a tent. Boom. Definitely a lot easier to work with. Buddy heaters, yeah, they're nice. You know, I got a couple. But for this now what I could do is, on a really super cold days, is that I can run the big propane, get it warm, and then turn this on to supplement the heat. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to run propane in that garage. It's just way too moist. You know what I mean? Anyways, on to the next thing. So I went to settings, push settings. It says the temperature, set temperature. I can raise that or lower that, whatever I want to on that one. Also, okay, it's putting out 330 degree Fahrenheit. That's pretty cool. If you crank that up, that temperature up, let's say to 100, whatever. Take it up to 90. Okay, I can still hear that tapping. Now go to temperature. That's 331 degrees. It's starting to increase the speed. It's slowly ramping itself back up. 327 degrees, man. That's pretty hot. 331 now. So yeah, it's definitely putting out the heat. You can turn it up and down. You know, I'm gonna turn it back down. You can use a remote too if you want. I'm just tacking on that remote. 74. Now what it'll do is it'll start ramping itself back down. Actually goes down pretty quick. It turned off because the room temperature, the outside ambient air is hotter than what I just set that for. So that's pretty cool. So I turned it off. Went in the garage, came back out, and it's on again. I mean, it's blowing out some heat. I don't know if it's cooling itself off. I'm going to wait to see if it cranks back up. It may be just cooling itself down. But I think it should have done that before it shut down, because that's a false sense of I'm not working anymore. Yeah, it's putting. I think it's cooling itself off. So I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit and see what happens. See if it goes off. I mean, it is cooler air. I think it's trying to cool itself down. So we'll see. I'll come back. Yeah, it took a couple minutes. It finally went off by itself. I mean, it wasn't burning. You know what I'm saying? It was just cooling itself down. So that's cool. You know, because you don't want that thing just stopping, and you know, you want it to kind of cool itself off a little bit. But yeah, okay, that's good. On to the next thing. So I was going to leave it up to me to find a flaw in something real quick. So just so you have a better idea what my complaint is that I'm out as far as I can possibly go on this, and my vent is right here. So I have to put the cone on it to get it away. So I mean, I'm out quite a bit away from the wall, sticking out. I'm sticking out 14 inches from the window or from the wall. I mean, this is just my complaint. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a weird. See, now everything's on this side. I can't turn it around this way because then the inlet is back here by the window. This is the exhaust. You know what I mean? Cold air, hot air. I'd be sucking in cold air when I want to rotate the air in the room, not pull from the window area. So it has to go this way. That way the air comes in this way and comes out this way. But then my control board is, you know, I guess it's just my nitpick. You know, I guess I might be just nitpicking it, but yeah, you really got to think twice about, you know, think about ahead of time where this heat is going to go. So now my problem is now the port for the exhaust is in the middle of the window. So now I have to make a board for the window, with a big enough hole so that this is not touching it. And then around the hole, I have to put some sort of heat shield insulation on there so that it doesn't burn the wood. Feel me? So, yeah. And then this is kind of flexible, so I can straighten this pipe back out, take it outside the window, and drop it down. You don't want to drop it up, you want to drop it down, because otherwise moisture will get in there, and you know what I mean? So I'll take you outside and show you what that's going to look like. So then the exhaust port is right there. So now I got to bend it up and make it go out up high like this, and then drop it down like so that it's not touching the building. Feel me? Of course, I can turn this around, but I got to loosen that screw up so I can turn that around. So yeah, that's so now I have to make a piece of wood. I can drop the window down. I have to make a piece of wood to go in this with a hole in it, with some sort of insulation around it, a heat shield. So yeah, that's what you end up with if you want to use this in your garage versus out in the camping. You know what I mean? Doesn't look a whole lot better, but you know what I mean? Yeah, now I'll cut me a piece of wood, drill a hole in the middle, and then I'll have to get some insulation for putting around piping. If you're trying to solder, you know, in a wall, there's a sheet that you can buy. That's about, I think they're about 30 bucks. Got me a piece of wood stuck on there. This does come with a little clamp, by the way, where you can mount it to something versus this free-for-all I've got going on here. You know, I can actually bend it back. No, that ain't happening. I'm just gonna let it dangle there, man. Just gonna let it dangle. Okay. I probably will put a bracket or something up, but it doesn't matter. It's not going anywhere. But now I've got this hole. I have to get a piece of that insulation, that fire guard to go around that. You probably could get away with like a pop can. I'm not going there, but let's go in and put the cover on it and see if it works. One of those days, man. Alright, so this is your ventilation shaft. It's one of those days, man. Seems like nothing's going right today. That's alright. Let's get that on there. Keep it down. I'll have to use a long bit on this one. There we go. We've got the horse. Got the horse extraction out here. You know what I'm saying? That's funny though. I don't have to. I can actually just put it right here on there, but you know, if I wanted to move it around, I can move it around, stretch it out a little bit. That's pretty thin tubing. I could probably get some dryer vent, work a little bit better than this, but let me get the power cord and we'll go from there. This is the other reason why I wanted to put it right here, because my outlet's right here. So, stretch it out. Put the power cord over here, plug it in, and then I can lay my box on top so it's all up out of the way. These little arms can pull down. This way I can at least put fuel into it if I need to. Right now it looks, I don't know how much I got in there. Maybe 60% full. So let's go ahead and fire it up, and I can still see the display. I hold the button down and it came on. So it's going to start its cycle of trying to start itself, and we'll go from there. So when you go to settings, it's got a setting button. You turn it, you push that, and then up and down. the higher up you go, the faster that blows it out. Just an FYI. It kind of picks up that fan speed. I think cranking out some heat. Okay, so now I've gone through. Let's get it hot. Now shut it off and see what happens. Because the last time we had problems. Turn it off. Now see if that will cool itself off before it shuts off. Okay, so it's shut off. And the fan shut off. So let's see if it ramps itself back up. It's been about 2 minutes. So the unit is off, but the fan's still blowing. Just slightly. So it hasn't shut the fan off all the way, so it's still trying to cool itself down, which is good. That's a good thing. Because you wouldn't want all that heat just sitting inside that box. So it's just, now it just ramped back up. I think it's trying to cool itself off, which is cool. That's cool. But I don't know why it shut down and then wants to cool itself off. So I don't know, bro. Okay, so and all in all, this is a pretty good concept. Yeah, I've got some issues with how it ventilates out. And yeah, it's going to take a little while to get the tweaks and figure out all the little nicks and crannies with it on all the different settings. But for the most part, it's a pretty good idea. Because it runs on diesel. It runs diesel. It'll run forever on diesel. You know what I mean? Versus propane. It's dry heat. And it runs off just a 110 outlet. I can also plug a generator, a battery generator up to it. You know, they make the little bitty ones. Harbor Freight's got them really cheap. So, you know, if I didn't have any power out here, say for instance, I was in a shed where there's no power. I could take a little, like a little Jackery or one of the little generators from Harbor Freight, you know, that cost like $100 or whatever. I could take one of those, plug this into it, and now I got heat. You know, plus I could do some LED lights if I was in a shed. You know what I mean? Anyways, yeah, I do like it. It's got some little quirks with it, like the whole where it's got to be placed and stuff. But for the most part, it's not too bad. I like it. That little clicking, it goes away once it warms up. It's not a big deal. It's not even loud. I mean, I just heard it, so I was letting you know about it. So yeah, it's not a bad idea. If you've got a garage or that's disconnected, you know, you don't want to run electric heat, and you don't want to run propane. I've got propane. It's not a big deal, but I like this concept better. This is a little bit nicer. It's a small tank, and like I said, diesel will run forever versus propane. That's how I feel about it. I think it's a pretty good tool, and it's not that expensive. It's that fairly cheap, you know, considering your alternative options. You know what I mean? So you get one of these, and yeah, you got a little expense, and you make sure you don't burn your building down and whatnot ever. But for the most part, yeah, it's a pretty cool tool. I like it. So a little odd, but it's a good tool.
Tell them who you are if you're living in the mood.